He made Mars look goofy. I'm sure this was all calculated. He wasn't even sweating. I was kind of sweating watching it. One, he's not overly defensive in the lane. A really common mistake I see a lot of carry players make is they're content just getting their farm in the lane and then getting out. But what they don't realize is that gives the offlaner a good game if you're not aggressive on him and you're not actively shutting it down, which makes it a lot harder for you to carry the game down the line. Especially, I'm guilty of doing this too on heroes like Anti-Mage or Naga Siren, or heroes where you just want to get a bunch of farm that scale really hard, like the hard carries. And you'll see from this replay, Yatoro has been really defensive. Look, he's spamming defensive aggro right now. It's because level 1 is a really strong power spike for the enemy. They have this like Mars Mirana. He's going to get clicked down a lot if he decides to be aggressive. And he's not. And that was surprising to me because Anti-Mage's level 1 is usually a power spike for him, but he identified that it's not in this lane. And I'll speed up a little bit. And you'll see that when he hits level 2, his entire temperament in the lane changes. Okay, he acts so differently, and it's not a coincidence. It's because he's getting his level 2. So let's just see. Okay, he got level 2, and on top of that, he has more creeps than the enemy, so that's a sign to be aggressive. When you have more creeps than the enemy, it's a great time to be aggressive because creeps actually do a lot of damage to you, levels like 1 through 3, and if you right-click the enemy, they'll draw aggro, so the creeps will start hitting you. So if you have more creeps than they do, if you guys start hitting each other in the creep wave and there's more of your creeps, he's going to take more creep damage than you. So let's talk about this temperament change again. He's level 2, and right now is his sign to go, or not right now, but when this creep wave hits, because he's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 creeps, and they only have 4. And he identifies that the creeps are coming, and he takes that as a sign to go in. The Mars spears the ogre, so he just goes, and he gets a really nice kill on his power spike at level 2. I'm sure this was all calculated. He wasn't even sweating. I was kind of sweating watching it, but he knows the Anti-Mage level 2 is just so strong. So he gets a nice kill on the Mars, and he blinks out. And the Mirana could have leapt in. She's level 2. But once again, why doesn't she? Because he has more creeps. If the Mirana leaps in and starts right-clicking Anti-Mage, she's definitely going to die to these 5 creeps, especially if you're a ranged hero and you don't have that melee block. So we see this hyper-aggressive level 2 from Yatoro, literally the GOAT. He's capitalizing on his power spikes. He's not overly defensive. And the reason he's not, or the way he's not overly defensive, is that he abuses his power spikes really hard. That was some power spike abuse that we saw when he blinked on the Mars here. It's like some psycho shit, right? But he did it, and he got the job done. Don't be content just getting your farm, guys, okay? The only way you should be content in a lane is if you shut down the enemy offlaner and make sure they're miserable. And he got that kill. He's in advantage now. Guess what he proceeds to do for the whole lane? Okay, not right now because he's like a quarter HP. But once he heals up, he just clicks the Mars every chance he gets. And this is easier because he got a kill on him. And now he can be aggressive for basically the whole lane. He doesn't need to worry about power spikes, because once you have a kill like this, you're basically on a permanent power spike. 2, he acts on information immediately. Let's look at the map right now. He doesn't see very much. The 5 is mid. There's a Huskar mid. This is a Mar, by the way, on the Huskar. And the Mars is respawning, I believe. Yeah, he's respawning. And he doesn't see much. Okay, so he's chilling, farming. And then, boom, we see Mars right now. Okay, that's good to know for Yatoro. And this is the kicker right here. He sees Mirana on the minimap. And I clicked this literally like frame 1 when he saw the Mirana. And what's he about to do? Boom, he blinks on the Mirana, or he blinks on the Mars instantly after he sees the Mirana on the minimap. He even sacrifices a couple creeps for it. And this is so impressive because a lot of higher MMR carry players would make this play after they saw the Mirana, but he did it literally instantly. And it's also surprising to me that he's skipping creeps for it. I would probably hit these creeps, deny the wave, but he just, you can see his mentality is like demon mode, okay? He just wants to shut this guy down, give him as little of a game as possible, because he knows that that's going to make the game easier for him down the line. Yes, it would be better for him in the short term to get these creeps, but he doesn't care about that. He understands that it's much higher ROI, return on investment, to blink on the Mars and shut him down. And this doesn't even amount in that much. Okay, he gets like 2 or 3 right clicks on the Mars, and then he just goes back to farming. He actually misses a lot of creeps for this. He missed 3 creeps, which is significant. But this just illustrates his mentality so hard, and it sends a message to the Mars. Yatoro and other top tier carry players will react to other information instantly too. For example, if they're farming against a spirit hero, like Storm Spirit, Ember Spirit, and they see them on the other side of the map, they'll go hit a creep wave immediately if their threat is showing, and they do that immediately as soon as they see them. So acting on information fast also gives these super high MMR carry players, the best carry players in the world, an edge. 3, he abuses that they have no mana, and he drains their mana in the first place to abuse that. So you just see he drained the Mars's mana a lot. He like went out of his way to drain his mana. He's already low because Yatoro's good about this the whole lane, but he just makes sure he's at 0. And that's really important because heroes having mana changes the way that they can play. I mean, obviously, it sounds so simple, right, guys? But how many people just don't think about this or don't do it enough? That's the key part of this, is they don't do it enough, and it snowballs, right? Because a Mars at 0 mana is significantly weaker than a Mars at 100 mana, right? You have to constantly make sure that they have no mana. And he abuses this, right? He knows the Mars has basically no mana here. He has a Lotus, and he makes a slightly psycho play here where he just hits the Mars, which is perfectly outside of tower range, by the way, or outside of the tower aggro range, which is nice. But he just hits the Mars, and the Mars thinks he can man up and then Lotus spear him, but it doesn't work out, and Yatoro times this perfectly, so he hits him right after he Lotused. I don't know if that was intentional or not. It probably was. Yatoro's the GOAT. And then he gets a kill here, but this only happened because the Mars was low mana, and he knows he can just go under tower and hit him because the Mars can't fight back. On top of this, this is just a little bonus tip specific to this game, but he knows that there's a Huskar mid, and Huskar would hate to TP here because he can just blink away, and Huskar is very slow, doesn't move around very quickly. Now, if this was like a Storm Spirit mid or like a Puck or Queen of Pain, he probably wouldn't have made this play because they can just TP in the trees and kill him really easily. This next part isn't really a tip that you can directly apply, but it definitely makes the difference. Other 3 tips matter a lot more than this, but this is just what separates Yatoro from other pros, or what really puts him in GOAT status, is he blinks on the Mars and he knows, okay, the Mars is going to spear him. That came from him asking, and then what? That's a question I really like. Like, he blinks on the Mars, and then what happens? Okay, the Mars is going to spear him. So he gets a really nice sidestep. Let's watch that again. Okay, he blinks on the Mars, and he immediately steps to the side, and the Mars is confused, right? This is like a pretty hard spear, and then he whiffs it. He made Mars look goofy. And this doesn't result in a kill or anything, but Mars has to be really psychologically demoralized right now, and he just can't lane with no mana, 500 HP, and 6 stick charges. It's pretty pathetic. All because Yatoro dodged the spear, right? If the spear hits him, he doesn't get, you know, half of the autos that he got on Mars.